The day began as a normal one for Keanu Reeves. He was looking for an opportunity to spend some time outdoors, in the peaceful atmosphere of a park, away from the cameras and the bustling city life. Being in the shade of tall trees, he felt nature bring him a long-awaited peace, which was rare for him in his busy schedule. The sun rose high above the horizon, casting its warm rays through the dense foliage of the trees. People were going about their business. Children playing in the playground, people walking their dogs, and some strolling along the narrow paths. Keanu walked slowly, enjoying the moment. But after a few minutes, his attention was drawn to voices that began to stand out from the background sounds. It wasn't the usual children's laughter or joyful shouts. It was something else, rude and mocking shouts. He turned his head and saw a group of teenagers standing in a small clearing near the playground. Their movements and behavior betrayed clear aggression. Among these teenagers, a child in a wheelchair was the center of their attention. He was a boy, about 8 or 9 years old. His thin figure seemed even smaller in his condition, and his large eyes were filled with fear. He tried to move away from the group, but the wheels of his wheelchair got stuck in the soft soil, and he could not move. His movements were hasty, chaotic, but futile. The boy looked confused and completely defenseless. The teenagers who surrounded him were laughing, pointing, and seemingly deliberately blocking his path. One of them took a step forward and pushed the wheel of the wheelchair, causing it to sway. The boy tried to keep his balance by holding onto the handles of the wheelchair, but his hands were trembling with fear and tension. There was no one around to intervene, only a few passers-by who glanced at him from afar but did not dare to approach. Keanu froze for a moment, watching this scene. He had seen a lot of violence in movies and on film sets, but the reality had always been more shocking. This was not fictionalized violence, but real. His heart clenched with compassion for this child, who had no way to defend himself. He knew he couldn't just walk by and remain indifferent. As he continued to watch, Keanu noticed details that made the situation even more painful. The boy's clothes were modest but clean, a testament to his family's efforts. His wheelchair showed signs of wear, but was well maintained. It was obvious that he was used to struggle, not only with his physical condition, but also with social isolation. His whole body expressed tension and fear, but at the same time, there was something else in his eyes, determination. He did not cry, although every cell in his body seemed to be begging for protection. He held on as best he could, trying not to show weakness in front of his perpetrators. Keanu took a few steps forward, approaching the stage. He tried not to draw attention to himself until he understood how best to act. His experience told him that intervention had to be measured and deliberate. He didn't want to provoke the teenagers to even more aggression or make the boy feel helpless. He noticed that the teenagers began to increase their pressure. One of them leaned over to the boy, saying something to him, which caused more laughter in the group. At that moment, Keanu realized it was time to act. He could have just shouted or walked closer, but he decided it was important to show calm and confidence. His goal was not only to stop the situation, but also to teach everyone present a lesson they would remember. Keanu walked closer, keeping a calm demeanor. The teenagers gradually began to notice his presence, and their expressions changed. From surprise to embarrassment, they didn't seem to know how to react to the appearance of an adult who was clearly ready to intervene. Keanu took his time, giving them time to realize that the situation had changed. The teenagers began to retreat one by one, realizing that their actions would no longer go unnoticed. The boy in the wheelchair raised his head and looked at Keanu. His face expressed a mixture of fear, surprise, and hope. This was the moment when everything could change, for the boy and for those who witnessed the incident. In that moment, Keanu realized that his presence had already made an impact. He had not only protected the child, but also made the teenagers think about their actions. But for him, this was only the beginning. He knew that he had to do more to prevent this situation from happening to this child, or to other children who might find themselves in similar circumstances. After the teenagers left, Keanu stayed with the boy to make sure he was okay. His heart was determined to do more than just intervene in that moment. He knew that this encounter was to be the beginning of a great change for this child, and perhaps for the entire community that was watching. When the incident in the park was behind him, Keanu Reeves began to think more deeply about what he had seen. He couldn't just leave it behind, because there was too much pain and loneliness in the boy's eyes. The child, who already faced difficulties because of his disability, now had the additional burden of social isolation and bullying. Keanu decided that he had to help not only this child, but also to create an environment where such situations would not occur again. The next morning, Keanu returned to the park. He knew that he would find the boy there, because he probably came here every day, as it was the only space available to him. When Keanu saw the child in the same place, near the bench under the tree, his heart sank. The boy was sitting in his wheelchair, looking at the other children who were having fun on the playground. His face was calm, but his eyes were full of longing again. Keanu walked closer, taking his time so as not to scare the boy. He decided to start with something simple, to make sure the boy felt safe and knew that there was someone there to support him. Keanu sat down on a bench nearby and just watched the boy. He noticed the child lowering his head from time to time, as if trying to avoid the stares of others. Over the next few days, Keanu visited the park several times, watching the boy spend his time. He saw him try to join other children, but they either ignored him or found an excuse to move away. This isolation was even more painful than direct bullying, as it deprived the boy of even the slightest hope for friendship. Keanu decided to find out more about the boy's life. He went to the local school where the boy studied and spoke to the principal. It turned out that the boy came from a low-income family. His mother was raising him alone, working several jobs to provide for his basic needs. Because of this, the boy did not have the opportunity to attend additional classes or therapy that could have helped him better adapt to life. The principal also noted that the boy often faced bullying at school. Many children did not understand how to communicate with peers with disabilities and therefore treated him with prejudice. This information only strengthened Keanu's determination to change the situation. Keanu realized that help had to start with the family. He found out the boy's address and decided to visit their home. The house was old and in need of repair. The boy's mother, although clearly exhausted from work, greeted Keanu with warmth and gratitude for helping her son in the park. She told him that the boy had always been dreamy and kind, but due to constant difficulties, he began to withdraw. Keanu offered to help, but he did so in a way that would not humiliate her. He offered to pay for repairs to the house, as well as provide the boy with the necessary things for school and therapy. The mother was hesitant at first, but eventually agreed, realizing that this was a chance for a better future for her son. One of Keanu's first steps was to create an inclusive space in the park. He contacted local authorities and entrepreneurs to raise funds to renovate the playground. The new playground had areas accessible to children with disabilities. There were special swings, interactive panels, and other elements that allowed all children to play together. In addition, the park organized a series of events aimed at raising awareness of disability and developing empathy in children and adults. Volunteers conducted workshops, games, and lectures to help people understand the importance of supporting each other. Keanu also involved the school in the process. It organized trainings for teachers to help them better understand the needs of children with disabilities. The school also began to conduct tolerance lessons, during which students learned to cooperate and support each other. The boy, who had previously been bullied, gradually became part of the school community. One day, during the opening of the renovated playground, the boy felt for the first time that he was not alone. He was surrounded by children who wanted to play with him, talk to him, and make friends. He no longer hid his gaze, but looked forward boldly. His eyes shone with hope, which he had lost, but thanks to Keanu's efforts, he found again. For Keanu, this story was another confirmation of how important it is not to remain indifferent. He saw how small changes can have a huge impact. Thanks to his efforts, the boy received not only help but also a chance for a better future. Most importantly, the community learned to support and value each of its members. After the renovated playground in the park was opened, life in the community began to change. But for Keanu Reeves, this was just the beginning. He knew that creating an inclusive space was only the first step in a long journey to change society's attitudes toward children with disabilities. He realized that children like the boy he met in the park needed not only physical support, but also emotional, social, and educational assistance. That is why Keanu decided to expand his initiatives. Keanu started working with the school the boy attended. He organized a program to improve the educational level of children with disabilities. As part of this program, the school received modern equipment, interactive whiteboards, specialized teaching materials, and technologies that facilitated learning for children with disabilities. In particular, software for children with visual and hearing impairments was installed. In addition to the technical innovations, Keanu invited professional teachers and psychologists to the school to work with children individually. They conducted special classes aimed at developing confidence, social skills, and creativity. The boy, who had once been isolated from his peers, now actively participated in school life. He even started attending art classes, where he was able to express his emotions through art. While working with the community, Keanu realized that it was important to support not only the children but also their families. He organized a series of meetings for parents where they could discuss their problems, share their experiences, and get professional advice. These meetings became a place where parents felt part of a supportive community. At one of these meetings, the boy's mother told her story for the first time. She shared the difficulties she faced while raising a child with a disability. Her words evoked a strong, emotional response from the audience, and many realized how important mutual support is. After hearing this story, Keanu decided to do even more for families in need. He created a foundation that provided financial support for the treatment, education, and adaptation of children with special needs. This foundation also funded psychological assistance programs for parents who were often left alone to deal with the challenges. Each family that applied for help received personalized support that met their needs. To change society's attitude towards children with disabilities, Keanu decided to organize regular community events. The first of these events was an inclusion festival where children with different abilities could participate in sports, creative, and educational activities. This festival brought together hundreds of people from all over the neighborhood and became a symbol of unity and acceptance. The boy, who used to be afraid to draw attention to himself, now became one of the central figures of the festival. He gave a short speech in which he thanked everyone for their support and shared his experience. His words touched many people and became an example of how support can change a child's life. In addition to the festivals, Keanu began to conduct educational seminars for adults. At these seminars, he invited experts who spoke about the importance of inclusion, ways to support children with disabilities, and create equal opportunities for all. Thanks to these events, many community members changed their attitudes toward children with special needs. Keanu continued to follow the progress of the boy he met in the park. He saw how he gradually opened up to the world, became more confident, and made new friends. The boy started playing sports for children with disabilities and even participated in local competitions. This was an incredible achievement for a child who had once avoided even simple communication. One day, Keanu decided to make a present for the boy. He gave him a new wheelchair with improved features that allowed him to move around more easily and even play sports. The boy was so impressed that he could not hold back his tears of joy. For him, it was not just a wheelchair, but a symbol that he has the right to dream and achieve his goals. A few months after Keanu's initiatives began, the neighborhood where the boy lived became completely different. People no longer ignored children with disabilities, but rather actively supported them. The school became an example of inclusive education, and the park became a place where every child felt equal. It was a huge success for Keanu, but he always remained humble. He knew that the real credit belonged not to him, but to the people who were involved in the changes. His role was only to give them a boost and show them that everyone can change the world around them. Keanu Reeves' initiatives have evolved into more than just helping one child or one neighborhood. The changes he initiated became a source of inspiration for the entire community, and their impact began to spread far beyond the neighborhood. But Keanu realized that for these changes to be sustainable, he needed to create systemic support and involve even more people. Keanu noticed that many children in the community did not have access to quality education and developmental programs. He decided to expand existing initiatives by creating a development center for children. In this center, children could gain additional knowledge, develop their talents, and find support. The center included a variety of areas, from science and technology to art and sports. For children with disabilities, special programs were created that took into account their needs. In addition, Keanu invited therapy specialists to the center to help children cope with emotional challenges. An innovative IT classroom equipped with modern computers and software became a separate part of the center. The boy Keanu met in the park became one of the first students in this class. His interest in programming only grew, and he began to develop small projects that helped other children in their studies. One of his projects, a mobile app for children's speech development, was recognized at a local innovation competition. Keanu realized that it was important for children with disabilities not only to receive help, but also to be a full part of society. He began organizing events that promoted the integration of children with different abilities. One of these events was a day of inclusive games, where children worked in teams to complete various tasks. During these games, a boy who had previously been afraid to attract attention showed leadership qualities. His ability to solve problems and support the team inspired other children. He became an example that disability is not an obstacle to success. Keanu also engaged local businesses to create internship programs for teenagers with disabilities. These programs gave young people the opportunity to work in different fields, gain experience, and build their careers. A boy who dreamed of becoming a programmer got an internship at a large IT company, where his talent and hard work were highly appreciated. One of Keanu's greatest successes was that he was able to unite the community. People who used to live separately started working together on common projects. They realized that they could change their environment if they acted together. Keanu organized a series of workshops for adults to teach them skills in effective leadership, conflict resolution, and social entrepreneurship. These workshops gave people the tools they needed to develop their community on their own. One of the groups that formed during the workshops created a cooperative that produced and sold organic products. The boy's mother also joined the cooperative, and she was able to find a stable income and spend more time with her son. Keanu's projects attracted the attention of other regions. People from different cities started asking him for advice on how to create inclusive programs and support children with disabilities. Keanu decided to scale up his activities and founded a charitable foundation that supported similar initiatives in other communities. The foundation funded educational programs, the construction of inclusive playgrounds, and the creation of development centers for children. In addition, it organized trainings for teachers and social workers so that they could better understand the needs of children with disabilities and provide them with quality support. The boy, who became a symbol of change in his community, also joined the foundation's activities. He spoke at various events where he told his story and inspired others. His words were sincere and insightful, and many people felt they had real power. For Keanu, this journey was not only an opportunity to help others, but also a reminder of the importance of humanity. Every day he spent with these children and their families brought him deep satisfaction. He saw how his actions changed people's lives, and this inspired him to continue. He realized that real power lies not in loud deeds, but in consistent actions that are aimed at the benefit of others. Every child who smiled thanks to his initiatives, every family who found support, was proof to him that kindness can really change the world. A few years after the first meeting with the boy in the park, Keanu visited the same park again. Now the place looked completely different. A bright playground where children were playing, cozy alleys where people were walking and socializing. The boy who had once been afraid to look others in the eye was now standing at the head of a group of children, organizing a game for them. Keanu watched with a light heart. He knew that the change he had started would continue. His mission had been accomplished, but he realized that this was only one of many stories he had yet to create. With a smile on his face, he left the park knowing that kindness is the best legacy one can leave in this world.